Hi, I'm Jerry Ford, and welcome to my studio. And welcome to the Mug Rug of the Month Club. If you're not already a member, send me an email and I'll add you to the list. So this month we're making a delightful one for Halloween, and it is got an open back, although I've already sealed it closed. And you can either put the word boo in here, put in any kind of monogram that you would like, or any other design. And one's just a lot of fun. In fact, a lot of my students say this is their favorite mug rug. This design is available. If you will just send me an email requesting a copy of the design. It only comes in PES format. If you have conversion software, you can always convert it to whatever format your machine uses. So welcome as we continue on our journey with mug rugs to celebrate the year. For this project, you're going to need your 5x7 hoop and some stabilizer. I'm using a rinse away, tear away. I don't have to worry about taking it out. You could use a wash away, or you could use a thin cutaway like a no-show mesh. I like this one because it completely tears away from the outside edges, so it doesn't make the seam allowances any thicker. So for this, there's your 5x7, and it's already hooped. I've already hooped it. You're going to need a piece of batting, and you can use scraps, so approximately maybe 5 inches wide by 7 inches high, just an extra piece of just some scraps you have laying around. You can make the front with cotton, and I'm using 100% cotton, just big enough to fit inside your hoop, about 5 inches by 7.5 or 8 inches. You also need 2 backing pieces about 6 inches by 9 inches that you would fold in half in press, and you need 2 of those so that you would have the backing for your mug rug. I'm using scraps today, so therefore I don't have enough fabric to do. I just have little pieces here, so I don't have enough to do 3 9x6 inch. So what I'm going to do is I do have enough to make it single layer, and I kind of like this. So what you would do is you would just simply take about a 5-inch by 6-inch wide piece. You need 2 of those, and then you fold it in half, and then I'm going to stitch this along one edge, and that way it'll fit on the back. And actually I kind of like this because it makes the seams a little less bulky. So I have 2 of I have enough to do those, and I'll show you how I make this later on. You'll need the following thread colors. Of course, you're going to need embroidery bobbin thread. I'm going to use yellow for the quilting. I'm going to use brown. Dark green is for the lettering. Black is for all the detail pieces, and you can use either white or yellow for the eyes on the skull. And I'm using a glow in the dark, so that should be a lot of fun. Optionally, you might want to use a little piece of fusible web tape, or just little scraps that you have of fusible web, in order to close the backing or to seal it shut. Okay, just hoop your stabilizer and we're ready to go. Okay, I've already loaded the design into my machine, and it is oriented on the landscape. And if I go to embroidery, because I've already put the hoop into the machine, it's telling me to change to a larger hoop, but instead what I'm going to do is rotate this. So I go to my edit page, hit rotate. I want to rotate it 90 degrees, and that's good. Now it should fit just fine. Okay, now we're ready to go ahead and stitch it. I've loaded the hoop into the machine, and I have already put that yellow-orange thread for the quilting in the background, and I'm going to stitch this first color step, which is going to simply give you a placement for the batting. It's stitched the placement for the batting, so I'm going to put the batting on top so that it's going to go ahead and cover all of the stitching. And then I'm going to stitch color stop number 2, which is going to tack down the batting. Now, to reduce the bulk in the seams, I'm going to remove the hoop from the machine, but I am not going to remove the fabric from the hoop, and I am going to simply use like a pair of curved scissors to trim away all of this excess batting. Okay, I'm going to return the hoop to the machine. Okay, and I'm going to place that piece of topping fabric, the background fabric, on the top, still using the orange thread. Okay, and I want this to extend beyond the seam lines by about, this little seam area, by at least 1/4 of an inch, preferably 1/2 an inch. So I had you cut it just a little bit bigger. And the next thing is to stitch color stop number 3, which will tack down the background fabric. And it is also going to quilt the background. And I'm going to go ahead and stitch the rest of this off camera because this is like watching paint dry. All right, it finished stitching. It not only tacked down the background fabric, it also quilted it. And the next color I'm going to use is the dark brown, and it's already threaded, and that is going to do the leaves. And I believe this is color stop number 4. And again, I will stitch this for a couple minutes, and then I'll finish stitching this off camera because you guys know what stitching looks like. All right, it's already stitched the branches. So the next I'm putting black in for color stop number 5. And this is going to do the pumpkins, the skull, and the bat details. If you happen to have problems with black thread, because black thread can sometimes have a little bit more tension in the needle than the other colors, then you can always put black bobbin thread in the bottom, and then you don't have to worry about if that bobbin thread is coming up or not. So that's one alternative if your machine isn't perfectly balanced, and it happens, and even a well-maintained machine, that can happen because humidity, temperature, and barometric pressure, all that has got an effect on your tensions. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and stitch these details, and then I will be back. Okay, it finished stitching the black, and I don't know if you can see this, but there's a little spot right there where the bobbin thread came up. So I'm going to take a fabric marker, although I'm using a Sharpie. Don't use a Sharpie, get a proper fabric marker because they can be heat set. Sharpies tend to bleed, and just touch it up a little bit. And then it colors it, and you'll never know that you had some bobbin thread coming to the top. So I am now putting in the glow-in-the-dark white. Actually, it's like a pale yellow to do the scary eyes on the skull. Now, it did leave a few jump stitches. Okay, so I recommend using, these are called little grasshopper ones, and I like these because there's some jump stitches you're going to have to cut out, and this is very easy. It's serrated, so therefore it grabs the thread and you can get it out. Now if you don't have them, or it's just too close, oh, this one's okay. See, that cuts it really well, but if it doesn't, just use that marker here to just touch it up. And that way you don't have to remove anything. See, those are too close together to cut. So I just simply, if I have any little tails or anything sticking out, you just use that. I recommend not using a Sharpie, but you use what you have. And this is just a sample. I like to use, my favorite to use is the Fabrico fabric markers, and those work really well. I switched my thread over to the dark green, but you can use any color you like to stitch in the word boo. Now, if you've decided that you do not want to have the word boo in there, you might want to put a monogram in the center here. You could do that. So what I would do is, if you're going to put something else in there, just simply skip over this color stop and the next one, which is the finishing one. So this is the last thing we have to do. Put in whatever lettering or any other design you'd like in the middle, and then come back to the very last color stop in order to finish. So I'm just going to go ahead and stitch the word boo. And this is color stop number 7. But I'm going to go ahead and finish this off camera, and then I will be back to show you how to finish this. Okay, I finished stitching the word boo. If you've stitched something else, then you want to go back to the last color stop of this design, which is, I believe, color stop number 8. And now we're ready to put the backing on. Again, you might want to trim any of your jump stitches, but you know, I'll do that later. Okay, normally what I do with these types of mug rugs is I would take a long piece of fabric and fold it in half, and this is not. Then you would take another folded piece, put it over top, and then overlap it by at least an inch. And therefore you go ahead and you'd have a little bit thicker background, but you don't have any other stitching that you have to do on another machine, or on this machine where you've taken the embroidery arm off. Okay, but I didn't have enough fabric, so what I did is I simply folded this over by a 1/4 inch, and I just straight stitched. And if you can see this, but it's just simply straight stitched. This is going to be on the inside, so it's not going to be seen anyway. Put the folded edges, so the part it's folded under right here, put that to the top. In other words, you want this thing right sides together. Make sure you are covering by at least a 1/4 inch all the way around. And you're going to do the same thing here on this side. So you want these to overlap about an inch. And to be honest with you, I kind of like this way of doing this even better, because then you have less bulk in the seams, because the other way you're having 3 layers of fabric on the seams, and now you've only got 2, except for right here at the hem. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to put this one like right on top, because now you've got another extra 2 layers that so you want that overlap beyond that point. So I'm going to, here we go. Alrighty, and now I'm ready to stitch. Okay, so now for this, you could tape this down, pin it down, although if you have a baby lock or a brother, that really isn't necessary. It's threaded with the orange thread again. I'm going to stitch and hold this button and just hang on to it and see which way that thing's going. It's going to do a bean stitch around, I believe. No, it's just a ray. Okay, we're fine here. I can let this go until it gets to the other side. Keep your finger near it. Okay, and stop. Okay. So now I'm going to, coming around to the other side, what I don't want to happen is I don't want this to fold over and get caught. So I'm going to just hold it real tight. Whoops, wait a minute. As it approaches, just keep holding on to it. Don't let it go. Okay, I'm going to raise that up because I got a problem. It did flip over. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and break and go back a few stitches. I'm going to go ahead and break thread. Make it break the thread. Okay, Okay, and then I'm going to go back a few stitches. So I'm going to use my plus or minus sign just to go back about maybe 5 stitches. Lower my presser foot again. And then hang on. Don't let it go until it's cleared that point. Okay, and now I can let it go. I'm going to hang on to it as it approaches the other side. So I'm getting ready to stop, and hang on. Because now it's going super slow. If your machine doesn't have this feature, I would recommend that you tape it down. Okay, just double check. If I'm not sure of that, raise the needle, go back about 10 stitches and repeat it. That way it reinforces it right at that edge. Not necessary to do that, but it doesn't hurt. Same thing here. As it approaches, I'm not taking any chances, and I'm just wait till that foot clears that fabric and we're good to go. Okay, all done. So I am going to remove this hoop from the machine. I'm going to take the fabric out of the hoop. And I'm just going to carefully peel away this stabilizer. It tears away easily, and what I like about it, it does not leave any bulk in the seam. Okay. Okay, and then let's go to the table and we'll go ahead and turn this. So now I've taken it out of the hoop and removed the excess stabilizer. Here it is from the side you saw it a bit ago. And this I'm going to go ahead and trim it. You can either trim it with your scissors, and I want to trim it to about 1/4 of an inch away. And you could clip it. You take your clipping scissors and just clip it right up to, but don't go through the line. Or the easiest thing is to use a pair of pinking shears and cut really close. Don't cut through the stitching. Would not be good. Now what happens if you do? No big deal. Take it to your sewing machine and just sew it about another 1/16 of an inch on the inside. You'll be fine. Give it a good press, maybe with some steam. So I'm going to press it from this side just to set my stitches. Everything is nice and set. Let it cool. Don't try to turn it while the fibers are warm, because they are more liable to stretch out of shape. And here I missed a little bit here. There we go. Okay. Then you take this and you just simply turn it. To the right side. I have my point turner, but I'm not going to use I'm going to use the rounded side to help push out the seam allowance. I'm going to just pull those to the edge and just get the edge. I don't want to press over top of the embroidery stitching, just the edges. I like to use a wool pressing mat, and this is a little tiny mini one that I got at a quilt show. A little more right here. And then turn this over. and give it a good press. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Okay. And now you can take a piece of fusible web. And I just have some of these on a strip about, I could have put that more in the middle, but you know, this really doesn't matter. I want it about that big. It doesn't need to be this wide. You could cut this in half. I usually use about 1/4 of an inch. Or you could use scraps of Wonder Under or Misty Fuse, Steam a Seam, any of these work. Put this up inside the seam allowance. And to just get this part fused. You don't have to do this at all. You could slip stitch it closed. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So just trim this out or just leave it. There is nothing saying you have to close that. It's not going to open up on you. But I like to fuse it down because it just makes it a little nicer. Okay. And again, I am going to, I see a bunch of little stitches that didn't cut, which is like right here between the letters. Now, my machine does cut jump stitches. However, if the jump is less than 1/4 of an inch away, the machine is not going to recognize it as a jump. It's going to think that it's just part of it. And then just give it a, sometimes it helps to pull it with a pair of tweezers, but not necessary. Okay, so now this is all finished. And it's ready to use. So make a lot of these for gifts. If you have any questions or comments, or if you'd like a copy of this design, or if you want to join our Mug Rug of the Month Club, then send me an email at waltzquilt@yahoo.com. And I will. Okay, well, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to hit the like button. If you haven't already subscribed, subscribe to my channel, and I've got lots of content out there of all different types of sewing. Don't forget to comment, to like, to save, and hit the notification bell so you can be advised of future videos. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Bye.